Oh, Creek 911, where's your emergency?
Yeah, I was just going to SIKH Temple, and I was in the parking lot, and I think someone was shooting some guy with the turban.
He's in a church with a gun?
Yeah, I can hear it in there. He's in there shooting people.
A white supremacist fueled by hatred walked into our local Gurdwara with a loaded gun. He killed my mother while she prayed. He shot and killed 5 more men.
I think this is an assault on all of us. It's an assault on anybody who's a Milwaukeean, a Wisconsinite, an American, a human being.
Tonight, we are celebrating the lives of 6 victims who tragically lost their lives on Sunday, August 5th, 2012.
I don't know anybody personally that goes to the Sikh temple here, but it still hits close to home. He very well could have walked into my church and done the same thing.
The whole point of a candlelight vigil is that light embodies the hope that we have amongst this darkness. That so many people were getting together blocks away from where this happened, without any fear and with so much love. It was tremendous.
Here in the Milwaukee area, you never think that it would happen in your own backyard. But then again, on Sunday, it did, and we go to a point where it calls us to action.
In 28 years of law enforcement, I have seen a lot of hate, I've seen a lot of revenge, and I've seen a lot of anger. What I saw, particularly from the Sikh community this week, was compassion, concern, and support.
My dad, he was the first one to help protect that temple. It was his, it was ours. He lost his life.
We do come out early to prepare the food every Sunday. Usually talking about the family stuff,
Me and my sister, we went outside, and then all of a sudden, a white man had come out, and he just started shooting randomly. I just ran inside as fast as I could to tell everybody before it was too late.
My husband was sitting having tea. Then he says, close the door, and he was on the phone, 911. Then he ran to keeping everybody away.
Oh, Creek 911, where's your emergency?
We were having a firing here in the guys right were doing firing. We need 911, quick. 15 around here.
Then we went to this pantry. 15 people. We tried to quiet inside,
7512 Avenue. There is shooting.
Okay, did anybody get hit? Hello?
Somebody called and said, your dad's been shot. So I called his phone and talked to somebody inside, and they said, get here, hurry up.
As soon as that call came in, I knew I was going to be the first one to arrive.
Squad, last I heard is a balding male with glasses may have gone inside with a gun and there were shots fired.
Oh my God! Shooting! I got a shooting! What the hell is this?
Get to Creek, man. Hold on.
We were hearing the pop, the bullet shots. We start praying.
We need help. Somebody shooting outside.
Yes, we've got help on the way, okay?
We have to hide now.
Stay on with me. Okay? Ma'am?
Thank you.
I saw 2 men laying on the ground, one on top of the other.
I need an ambulance. I do not see a shooter anywhere. 10-4.
And just as I had started moving, I saw him. White t-shirt, lots of ink on his arms, black tactical pants, and a holster on his hip. We both shot probably at the same time. My shot missed, and he hit me directly in the chin, which traveled down my throat and ripped apart my larynx. I stood up, pointed my gun, and that's when he shot the tip of my thumb off. The gun came out of my hand. So I keep crawling, and that's when he shot me in the back of the head. I know I've been shot a ton at this point. And then a funny thing happens. It just gets quiet. And I just thought, I gotta fight.
We got someone walking out the driveway towards me. As I drove up, I saw him, and it's just something just wasn't right. That's why I backed up to access my rifle, and then I pulled back up. The glass sprayed me in the face. Put the front sight, followed him, and shot until he went down.
As the minutes went on, it just became more and more urgent, and I just wanted to know what happened to Dad. Is he all right?
I think I must have asked him about 25 times. Did you find my mother? You know where she is? Did you find her?
Receiving those text messages, you're standing on the sidewalk, you don't know who's alive and who's not, and all you can think about is, you know, am I going to see my parents?
I didn't know if I had hit him or if he just dove to get behind the cover.
Where's Murphy? We don't know where Murphy is.
Any further description if there's an additional shooter?
He's shot again.
He's still shooting. Figured I'm going to take the fight to him. If I run out of bullets, I'm going to run him over. I saw that he had a head injury, but I didn't know if I had hit him in the head or not. The round that we had heard was not fired at us. He actually put the gun to his head. Didn't want to be taken alive.
We had a lot of information pretty early on who he was and what he was all about. What he was wearing is indicative of white supremacists to show I'm going to spill blood for the cause. Our role now is not only to protect, it's to make them feel safe, and not just in the Sikh community, but everywhere in my city.
The day after August 5th, my brother came into my room and I said, can we go after the neo-Nazi guys so that they don't ever think about doing something like this again? And my brother stopped me and he goes, look, you don't realize, like, we could either become weaker or stronger. If you retaliate, you're no better than them.
I used to cut my hair, trim my beard, depending on what I felt like each day. I'd always thought about taking the sarup, as we call it, of the Sikh faith, where you don't cut your hair, you keep your case and dadi. I thought about it, and I was like, you know, maybe someday I'm not spiritually ready. And when the shooting happened, I felt like if there's a day, it's today. And I wanted to show the world that even if we look different, we're still Americans and we're still human beings. You know, I'm not a terrorist.
I look at it that I confronted evil in the parking lot. You know, he was looking for division. It didn't work that way. I think it drew people closer.
We're trying to remember what happened last Sunday. We're trying to come together as a community to reassure the families and heal together, I guess.
I'm affected by any kind of tragedy, but there have been several times where I just, you struggle to, like, hold it together. It almost, like, shakes you by the shoulders and say, you gotta wake up. You can't allow these things to happen. You can't allow hate to dominate a conversation.
Our thoughts and prayers go out to the families of the victims, for our wounded officer. There is no doubt in my mind that the heroic actions of our police officers prevented an even greater tragedy.
Sita Singh, 41 years old. Ranjit Singh, 49 years old. Satwant Kaleka, 62 years old. Prakash Singh, 39 years old. Paramjit Kaur, 41 years old. Shubaik Singh Khattada, 84 years old.
These were people who were walking alive just a week back. They are no more with us. We come together in love and peace and understanding rather than, hatred.
It can happen to anybody, any place, anywhere. Hatred, don't care where it goes. What hurt them also hurt us too. We're Christians, we all are brothers and sisters together. That's why we're here. We came to share their grief too.
Sometimes people think that when you go to a situation like this, it's over, it's done, you go home, let's do your job, you get back. It doesn't work that way. There were some pretty graphic things that went on there. They're trained to see that, but now when one of their own goes down, we need to heal behind closed doors in a group and come together and talk and cry. I would like to see them get some time to catch their breath, too.
She was a very hardworking woman.
She sacrificed what she wanted for herself to give us what we needed. Just working for 12, 14 hours a day just to put food on the table.
My dad was a strong person, a strong personality. He was gonna fight till the end. And sometimes it, rubbed people the wrong way, but he was also a very honest person, almost brutally honest. A lot of integrity. You don't know that you have these characteristics built into you until you need them.
How can we look into the eye of a horrific tragedy? I seek solace in the fact that even in death, my father has done more to promote awareness of the Sikh faith than he did when he was alive.
See you. Good to see you. There's intelligence that is shared amongst the law enforcement community on what we can do now, who we're looking at. But when you're looking at raw data, let's pull the data out of the FBI files, this will not show up. This is the hate crime incident report, and you can see what the hate was for. Because it's their race, their gender, their sexual orientation. And then religion, we have Jewish, Catholic, Muslim, other religion. So the Sikh community is not, there's really nowhere for me to put on here who they are. They're others.
Where are Sikhs? Where do we count our mother? What are they gonna say? 7,000 other died? That was a wake-up call, I believe, to all of us, where we needed to do something.
I know what happened at Oak Creek was not an isolated incident. I fear it may happen again if we don't stand up and do something. Senators, I came here today to ask the government to give my mother the dignity of being a statistic. The FBI does not track hate crimes against Sikhs. My mother and those shot that day will not even count on a federal form. I want to tell the gunman who took her away from me, you may have been full of hate, but my mother was full of love. She was an American. Despite everything, I still believe in America, American dream.
He became the first Sikh ever to testify before Congress in U.S. history, and how many people can say that in the world? So it was definitely dear, close to our heart.
It was just for my mom.
There's days you're sitting there and it's miserable. For me to get out of bed and walk to the bathroom was a major event. know, I remember being in a hospital and members of the temple brought up letters and cards, and that makes you get up and move. The outpouring of gratitude and every aspect of support, they've been there. My wife and I never really went on a honeymoon, and we had tickets to go to the Florida Keys in 2 weeks. There was actually one point where I'm laying on my back and he shot me through the bicep, and I can just remember in slow motion the blood sprayed out of my arm, and I could just remember thinking as I'm crawling backwards, we're not going to the Keys. And I thought, she's gonna be mad, you know? I've been shot 15 times. I really can't feel anything in the forearm. I have half a thumb, some memory loss from the shot in the back of the head, but things could be so much worse. I'm very fortunate. Granted, I'm not thumb wrestling anybody or singing karaoke, but I could still do my day-to-day functions. The Sikh Temple is on Howell Avenue, one of the busiest thoroughfares in Oak Creek. But how many people ever truly understood what they stood for, what they worshiped, what their lifestyle was like?
In our faith, God is everywhere. Sikhism was founded a little over 500 years ago in an area of India known as Punjab by who we now call Guru Nanak. We primarily believe in one God, and that all people from all different faiths pray to the same God. Regardless of your caste, regardless of your gender or where you are in life, you can find God just as easily as anyone else. You simply work hard and work honestly. You keep God in your mind, and you share what you have with others. And our God is defined essentially as the energy of the universe. As a scientist, we're really only trying to understand God in the same way that any spiritual person tries to understand God, just using different tools. And I think the concept for me, at least spiritually now, is trying to merge the two. Our lab in general looks at learning and memory, and I do that looking at how cells communicate amongst each other. These connections are the basis in how we are able to think, learn, and remember. The whole concept of Sangat, or community, in our faith is that you as an individual cannot find truth. We must learn together to find that truth. So we're always encouraged to pray in groups, to meditate together, to interact with each other, to eat together, to serve each other in that hope.
You never get used to coming into a scene where your dad took his last breath, murmuring, Vaheguru, Vaheguru, you know, please come save me. My mom used to be really involved in the Gurdwara and helping out all the time.
Still, it's hard for me. It starts shaking my heart and everything.
It's a hard obstacle to try to get over.
One of the things that was most important, I believe, for the Sikh community to hear was the clear articulation that this was, in fact, a hate crime. Not because it lessened the pain, but just because it gave them the ability to say, we are a part of America. They are our doctors, they're our nurses, our teachers, they're our masons, There are cab drivers. They are us. There is no one to prosecute here. There's no defendant for us to indict. But that suggests that we have a larger mission, and that is, in part, education. What do you take from an experience like this?
This guy was inked up to the max with neo-Nazi, white supremacist tattoos. Hate festers like a sore. It doesn't happen overnight. I wonder how many people ran into this guy and didn't know what he was about. As a law enforcement officer, you should know your community inside and out. You should get to the places that you don't normally get to. It's hard to say to someone else, don't be ignorant when you're ignorant yourself.
You can't go through this and not be affected. There's still emotion. It's not the raw emotion of the incident. All of us, I think, sense that there's a change here from it's a bad thing that happened, let's move on, to maybe we need to talk about how we can reduce the likelihood that it'll happen. I promised the Sikh community that we would continue to have events based on what happened here. Can we do something as a community to kind of change the discussion?
I think most folks in Oak Creek would say before this happened, I mean, we knew the temple existed, but in terms of interacting with the community and knowing what they're about, knowing how they live their lives was kind of a mystery.
You know, before this whole incident occurred, I really had a negative outlook on police officers, but we don't have those conversations to see they're humans.
We were right along the program. Come ride with me for a day.
I would love to do that, Sam.
Hey, you come and ride?
I will.
Every time I turn to speak to a crowd, I take a deep breath and I gather myself. And I hope that once we leave today, and we will both be messengers together to get out there and basically preach the message of love.
I've seen a lot in 28 years of how people hate each other and how they treat each other, but unfortunately that's where we're at. Someone who's always telling me their brother, their uncle, their sister, they're worried that they may be one of those people. And I look at them and say, well, then why didn't you say something?
I was a founding member of the same organization that Wade Page belonged to. So in many ways, I set the stage and I created the environment that he came from. The most frequently asked question is, how did you change? I was very fortunate that kindness was given to me by complete strangers who I was outright hostile to. And while these acts of kindness didn't change me on the spot, they planted seeds that grew in my heart that left less and less room for that hate and violence.
I think that the country has gotten too used to stories like this. We don't feel each other's pain. Being awake means that you feel it. You feel Newtown. You feel it so much that you want to get in your car, drive to Connecticut, and be with the victims. But as you leave today, be awake.
I have a 6-year-old daughter, and I think about it every day. But I think we're making a difference. And for me, every day it's do the right thing, try to teach my children to do the right thing.
I'm sick of being passive, I guess. And today really helped out, like, seeing that I'm not the only one in the community who actually wants to help out.
I often say I have more faith in the kids than I do in adults sometimes. It's probably a naive statement in some extent, but kids are really going to drive this discussion.
Since that incident, people have started to believe like we actually had a problem where people didn't understand fully about other people's cultures or they didn't respect it.
We don't talk to many neighbors, but they came over and, you know, they asked how we're all doing, and it was just nice to see, like, even though what happened was bad, like, there was such a positive outcome. It brought our whole neighborhood together, our schools together.
This is a small thing, but it can set a ripple effect.
It made everybody feel like they were even like a tiny part of something amazing.
I'm the commander of Post 430 4th Squadron, and I'm a retired police officer from the city of Oak Creek. As soon as this happened, members of the post all got together and said, what can we do?
Usually a Legion post takes care of its own members and everything, but we wanted to make this a community-wide effort. We feel that heroes from all walks of life should be honored, not just military heroes. The way today's society is, we don't get to know enough about each other. What those 6 people's death did was help us better understand the Sikhs. They understand us better, and the two communities are now much closer together. We're not born heroes. We become heroes because of something that happens in our life.
Around the community this weekend, there are congregations who are remembering those who perished.
We've known what it is like to be attacked, to feel the sting of other people's hatred. That should cause us to do everything within our power to bring about a sense of the good.
When we are doing things in our world to make a difference, each community of faith can only do so much. And that's why God gave us another community of faith and another faith tradition. We each have ways in which we touch people's lives.
How does a community come together so quickly after something so horrific? And you have to understand you're the reason that happened, the compassion and the forgiveness that you have. We want to remember the victims, never ever forget them. But what we want to be remembered for is the response and how we came together.
Last year, I was blessed by God to be given an opportunity to serve the Gurdwara, and for that, I will always be thankful. Like the other 6 victims who lost their voice permanently, and mine who has been diminished, that voice has been replaced by everyone here. The voice of Chardigala, the voice of going forward and moving ahead.
It's very difficult, obviously, to be up here in MC when today was the day that I found out my father was murdered. I was full of so much anger.
If I do something constructive, if I try to help build community, I don't think about the negative side.
As for Wade Michael Page, there is no question that my father, and I'm pretty sure the other victim families, they've forgiven him and pray for his soul.
After they took my Diclofenac, I started crying. And I couldn't stop.
Raise your candles for him. Guru, look out.
Guru, see there.
Thank you. Thanks for your love. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
It seems like every time I get tired, somebody steps up and uplifts me, us, all of us.
As much as you were angry, as much as you were going through these feelings of grief, so was the rest of this community. And the rest of the community literally took their arms, braced them around you, and took that burden of pain away.
Yes, it makes a difference.
We can laugh, we can sing together, we can beat the drum together, we can be with each other, and that creates this healing.
Small towns, small cities in America, we can accomplish things that set examples. We can make a change that's real.
Wake up all the builders, time to build a new land.
We had all kinds of people come together today and walk and run, 6K, 1K for each victim.
Chardi Kala means relentless optimism. You need to have hope that the moral arc of the universe bends to the good.
It represents a challenge. When people get to a point where they think that they can't make it, they search inside and dig in and basically keep going.
Guys. We gotta change it, yeah. Just you and me. World won't get no better. If we just let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. World won't get no better. We gotta change it, yeah. Just you and me.
Hello, I'm Dan Jones from Milwaukee Public Television. Joining us now in our studios to continue this very important discussion are three people whose lives were changed dramatically that day. Pardeep Kaleka, who lost his father. Lieutenant Brian Murphy, now retired, the first officer on the scene who was so seriously wounded. And Oak Creek Mayor Steve Scaffidi, whose city was changed forever that morning. All right, let me start the conversation by asking you very directly, from that point in time until now, is your faith in your God and in humanity, your fellow man, is it stronger or weaker than it was? How about Brian, you first?
For me, absolutely stronger. In a lot of different aspects. One, from just a personal point of view, because of the seriousness of the injuries and how very close I came to dying. That does bring you closer, for sure. The aftermath and the people that I met and the kindness that was shown to me obviously makes it so much easier to look and understand how when there is hardships and people come together, it does renew your faith in humanity. And the city of Oak Creek, the Sikh community, and really everyone that I've come in contact with have been very supportive to both myself and my family.
Steve, were you surprised? Were you pleased at how the community responded?
I mean, I was overwhelmed to have something like that happen in Oak Creek in such a shocking way on a beautiful summer morning in August, sunny day, gorgeous day, people in their temple worshiping. And to have the community come out literally thousands strong 2 days later to kind of celebrate the lives of the people there, but also grieve together, because it wasn't just the temple community that was hurting. Our city of Oak Creek residents were hurting because something bad happened there. So I was inspired by them, and I think since that day, I've just carried that message on that we really came together that day in a way that kind of surprised me.
Pardeep, I would think that through your head so many times since then, you must have thought, if there's a God, how could he let this happen? How do you reconcile that?
Yeah, I mean, it's even now as we speak now, it's kind of hard to believe that something like this actually occurred and happened. And you know, you do question your relationship with God. My relationship with God was, you know, since we immigrated here when I was 6 years old, I didn't have that close of a relationship with God. And you know, I didn't go to the temple as much. And since the incident happened, I think my relationship with God has become closer. And it's just not, you know, I'll speak for us as a community and as a people. You know, Sikhs are new immigrants to the southeastern Wisconsin area. And for us, you know, we see our God in our community, so to speak, you know, and in our families and in our faiths. It's all encompassed. You know, for us, God is omnipresent, so God lies in everybody. And that being like even the shooter or, you know, everyone that was there that came and formed that sense of community. So in that aspect, my sense of God is, you know, is rejuvenated.
You gentlemen have done so much since this happened to bring the community closer together. Let me be a little bit antagonistic and ask this question. If somebody says, okay, if there's a whacked out, mentally unstable, crazy guy who wants to grab a gun and go out and shoot a bunch of people, you're never going to stop that. Are you going to stop it? Can you stop it?
In reality, I don't think so. I think you can lessen your chances. I think you can make people aware, make the rest of the community aware of some of the actions that these people take beforehand. But to believe that someone who has the will and the determination to do something this heinous, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find anywhere that could say this can't happen here. So you're at the mercy of the individual, but the strength from the community is what can at least try to alleviate it and to mitigate the circumstances surrounding it.
You truly found out, Steve, this can happen anywhere, any town. Do you worry it could happen again?
Certainly. I mean, these incidents are not something you can predict. There's 270 million, roughly 270 million guns in the United States, and there's a lot of folks out there that are on the edge, either emotionally or mentally, and they've somehow made the connection now. It seems like in the last few years, maybe the media has played that up a bit, that the way that they're going to go out is to take other people with them, and that's the storyline that we see every day. So for me, we're never going to get rid of that, but we certainly can lessen the likelihood of it. And we do that with awareness and getting people to think about, one, helping people that are in need. There's tremendous outreach done by people like Pardeep and Arnold McCallis that are looking at teaching people, primarily younger people, that there's other things you can do with your lives. You can be a peaceful person and not get involved in groups that hate other people or look at someone that looks differently or prays differently or acts differently as an enemy, but rather someone that's just different from you that you should coexist with peacefully. So two things. One, we should try to reduce the likelihood of these incidents. And two, get the public aware that in the instance that it happens, there are things you can do to be safer. And those things are ongoing. And we're doing a lot of those things now, both the law enforcement side, city side, and even at the federal level. They're now teaching communities, entities, church groups, civic groups how to prepare for events like this?
I don't want to get into a political argument, but when these things happen, there's a whole school of thought that says, wow, if there was more gun control, it would be unlikely that these things would happen so often. Or if there was more mental health counseling available to people of all ages, maybe this wouldn't happen. Agree or don't agree?
I mean, Dan, you kind of touched on the two things that are front and foremost, but I think with any multi-symptom problem, there's going to be a multi-symptom solution. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna have to address guns, gun violence, and the availability to get guns. We're gonna have to get serious about that discussion. We're gonna have to get serious about when we're discussing as far as like people that do have some kind of medical disorder. And there's a whole variety of variety of things that we can look at. We can look at, you know, just the role that violence plays in our society. You know, since the time I'm young, I got, you know, 4 kids now. I'm seeing, you know, how media affects them. You know, and I try to be very conscious of what my kids watch, but you know, you'll have a commercial, you'll have something that will get into their head and be like, oh, you know, we do have this, like, in America, we do have this good guy and bad guy approach to things, and you know, we have the argument that, you know, if you can arm enough good people, and you can strengthen the good people enough that we can somehow take out the bad people, and sometimes it's just not that. It's not that simple. We need to have, you know, we need to step out of the box and start to rethink what do we want our society to look like 10, 15, 20 years from now. And that's going to take a lot of tough decisions.
You touched on children. How do you make sure that children in Oak Creek or Newtown don't wake up every day wondering, oh, I'm afraid my dad or my mom is going to be shot, or I'm going to be shot? How do you tell them to go on with life?
You know, I tell my kids, and I tell my students the same thing. I said, sometimes, you know, the struggle is what makes you. The absence of struggle is sometimes a struggle in itself, that you don't have anything to motivate you. So I'm not going to pretend that I can sit here and I can take struggle away from somebody. I can't take somebody's poverty away. I can try to do something about it, but I can equip them and say, you know what, that's there for a reason. There's a purpose behind that, and it's to make you a better person. So instead of running away from pain, let's start to embrace pain, and start to really, like, take it in and make you a better person.
Do you run into people a lot that are afraid to talk about this, like oh, I don't want to bring it up, or do you tell them it's good to talk about it?
I think it's very good to talk about it. One of the things I think that can be detrimental in any of these occasions is to not have transparency and to discuss it openly and fully with whomever. I teach this a lot in law enforcement. I do a breakdown of the incident itself and how it affected everybody from the community to myself, my family, because I think it's important to understand sometimes how these things happen, to understand what really you can do afterwards, and how you can, through your perseverance, get through these things. To put it in the back and not touch it just makes it fester. It makes it where I think that breeds fear. The more you can get this out in the open and to touch upon it with anybody of interest is only going to show how a community can react positively, how the relationships need to get built prior to, not always post-incident. And that's really one of the things that I think need to be brought to the forefront, is getting good community involvement at all levels. We all know that there's diversity in every city in America, but do you really know what they stand for? Do you really know what their beliefs are? And that's part of it. I think it's important to be as open about any incident, no matter how tragic it is, because they're all learning points. And if you care to move forward, you do have to understand where mistakes were made in the past, and it doesn't have to be negative in the sense of we weren't aware, but now we are, and we'll move forward from there.
What do you have to tell yourself every day so that you do look forward and not backward?
For me, I just refuse to give in to the fact that these acts are happening, seems like an ever-increasing rate across the United States. So my goal in the rest of my life, however many years that is to make sure that we're aware that we can take steps. I said this many times in speeches that I made and presentations I made. There's a lot of very intelligent people in this country, and we have a lot of resources, probably more than any country on earth. There's no reason why we can't start to figure out some of these things. If it's an issue with people are in poverty or have mental health crises that they're not getting the help they need, then we need to figure out ways to do that, obviously given the budgets that we have. We have a Second Amendment that says people can own guns, and that's a perfect right and an understandable right in this country. But if someone uses a gun to commit a crime, for me, that means that person should never have a gun again. And for the second part of that is the way you enforce that is with background checks that actually work. Those are real things that we can do. I understand they're controversial, but we don't shy away from other controversial things. We should take real steps if we want to save the lives of the people that live in our country. Those are things that I think about every day. Those are big picture items that go beyond Oak Creek. They're the state level, the federal level, and international level. We need to think about the safety of our citizens. In an ever increasingly violent world, what are we going to do as an individual to change that?
Pardeep, what do you do to make sure that you look forward and not backward?
I mean, I try to remember that, you know, the one constant in life and in history is change. You know, there are going to be people that don't embrace change as well as others. We have to respect their opinion as well. You know, we see on the south side of Milwaukee that it is a very changing demographic, and some people are not comfortable with it. So, I mean, for us, in the Sikh community, in the Indian community, in the Pakistani community, in the Korean community, in the, I'll call it the other community, we need to be proactive in getting out and about and being part of the community. You know, we don't have the traditional, you know, first generation, second generation, and then finally the third generation right to be out. This is a very fast society. I mean, and basically I try to remember that, like, you know, there's a difference between being reflective and deflective. And, you know, after the tragedy happened, there could have been a lot of people in the community that said, you know what, I wasn't to blame for it. I wasn't the cause for it. You know, you know, this happened by some dude that just, you know, was isolated and, you know, just weird and, you know, out there. But, you know, what was inspiring was a lot of people were very reflective, and they really took it in and said, you know what, I am to blame for this. I didn't do enough. I could do more. And I mean, I can go on with story after story about how people reached out via email and said, you know what, my child goes to a school, and, you know, at the school that she goes to, I really didn't think that she would have anything in common with people from your country. I'll never make that mistake again. When I drop her off at daycare, I'm gonna realize that, you know, that child is the same as any other child. And that's the most inspiring part, people being more reflective.
You have seen more hate than most human beings will encounter in their entire lifetime. You've also seen more love than most human beings will ever see. Has that impressed you as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. The day I got home from the hospital, I asked my wife to punch up my email, and there was over 2,200 emails from around the world wishing me luck and wishing, you know, that I got well. And to see that is, it's a humbling experience. And really, that's what you have to embrace. That's what you have to take forward, and that's what you have to remember. No matter what side, members of society are the ones who are always going to try and denigrate that and stay within themselves and breed negative ideology. That still is the ultra minority. You have to understand that there are so many more people out there that when something happens, they turn to and they get it done and they do the right thing. That's part of, to me, that's part of the media is we don't focus on the greater things that show love for each other. We pick the small things and amplify those incidents that make it look like there's always something bad happen, but you can turn around any day and people are doing good things for each other without ever having to be asked. While that's not newsworthy, it is what you should focus on.
Pardeep, you've been touched by a tremendous amount of love since this happened. Yeah. Do you see it every day?
All the time. I mean, all the time, every day. we grew up in the southeastern Wisconsin area. You know, we grew up in Bayview, and Oak Creek was a hop, skip, and a jump away. So for us, we've always known that our community was a great community, and you know, like Brian says, there's a a small group that does fester on this negative ideology. But I'm very proud to be a Wisconsinite and live in this community. I see it all the time.
Steve, for a long time, I'm sure a lot of people in Oak Creek saw the building, went, oh, that's the temple where they meet on weekends or Wednesday nights or whatever. Now they know a lot more about that population.
It's a tremendous community. I knew a little bit about them. Obviously, I served as an alderman before I was mayor, and we had moved some of their projects through, some of their building projects. That was my only contact. And obviously, when August 5th, 2012 happened, I had to immediately engage with the community. So we spent a lot of the first week with long discussions with many of the elders, some of the family members who had fathers and brothers and uncles killed. And I learned about the community. And many, many Sundays since then, I've spent significant time at the temple. And now I understand why it worked so well. We've been perceived as dealing with this situation well. One of the reasons that is because of the tremendous response of the Sikh community. They are a compassionate people. They were not vengeful people. They looked to see how they could reach outwards after something horrible that happened to them personally. Because of those things, because of the fact that Brian survived and his bravery was recognized by the world, basically, we're perceived as doing things right. The message for me is that we are, as a community, I think a symbol of what can happen. Obviously, you don't want bad things to happen in your city or village or whatever. But when something bad happens and how you deal with it and how all the people that are involved in it represent themselves, that can be a positive, and we look on this as an opportunity, and I'm sure both Brian and Pardeep do as well, to do something positive in the future, and that's the way I approach it every day.
Do you worry that people 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now will forget about this?
I don't worry about that. I mean, I try to live as much in the moment as we can. Oftentimes we preach this whole idea of being present, and how just your presence can be the best present you give anybody. So I mean, I don't think about it in 5 to 10, 20 years from now, but I do hope that people still remember this, not for the bad that happened, but for the good that happened. I mean, 20 years from now, I think we're going to be looking at a society that is going to be far different from what it is today, and I hope that this was that big stepping stone that launched southeastern Wisconsin into that forefront. Southeastern Wisconsin is not going to look the same as it does today as it will in 20 years. So I hope that people remember back and say, hey, you know what? From that incident that happened on August 5th, 2012, we learned a lot about the other, and we grew, and this is how we grew, because we embraced the cultures that people bring to America and Wisconsin.
Do you worry, Brian, that people will forget about this the longer it's away from the headlines?
Yes, because I think that's where complacency moves itself back in, and not taking care of each other and not taking care of looking around and being mindful of what's going on. That's where if there's any fear whatsoever, I agree with you. I believe it's all going to change. Where the societies now, the flux is, the fluidity is so rapid, but you have incidents happen countrywide, worldwide, that it kind of takes it away. And I do understand, well, it happened in 2012. What are the odds? But we should never think that way. You should be cognizant of what's going on, who's around, what they're doing. And be mindful. It doesn't mean you have to be hyper vigilant where you're always looking over your shoulder, but just be aware of going on, and that things can happen. Doesn't mean necessarily it's going to happen here. As you saw on August 5th, he wasn't from Oak Creek. He came to Oak Creek. And that, again, is something that I would be leery of, is forgetting that we as a society need to take care of the person next to us and the person beyond that. You can't always wait for law enforcement to come. You can't always wait for the first responders. It is our job to be our brother's keeper in a good way.
Do you worry that this will happen again and that you'll be sucked back into this horrible feeling where you were a few years ago? That, I mean, you fought back now and you're so strong, and do you worry that, okay, I'm going to read about this in Rhode Island or Montana or whatever, and it's going to suck me back into that horrible feeling I was in 2 years ago?
You know, I mean, every time something like that happens, whether it's Santa Barbara or Sandy Hook or any of the mass shootings, I'm always brought back to that day because it's a significant moment in my life, given the gravity of what happened. I can still remember getting the call from the police chief saying that Brian was injured. That's a thing that takes your breath away as the mayor of a city, or really anyone that cares about law enforcement and how cities work. So I'm always brought back to that. But again, going back to your earlier question, I don't want this to be forgotten. You have a few opportunities in your life as an individual to make a difference in everybody else's collective existence. And I think this is one of those. There's important lessons to be learned here. One is that you can deal with people that you don't typically associate with and have relationships with them. Because of this incident, people visit the temple now that never would have before. They come in on a Sunday, they eat dinner, they have a Langer meal with the Sikh community. That is a good thing. And so as we break down these barriers that exist now, where people just used to drive into their houses at the end of their workday, drop their garage door, watch TV, and then go back to work the next day. We need people to engage in communities, and that's really where the changes will come. So I want people to remember this day. We talk about this all the time. We've done many presentations about this. It's a significant event, one of the most significant in our country, given where it happened. It happened in a place of worship. Other than going back to church bombings in the South in the 60s, that's the last time something like this happened where it happened. And that has a gravity to it and a seriousness that I think requires that we remember it.
You know, when I think about this incident, and ever since the incident happened and we're watching the news or we watch media and something bad happens to somebody else, right? You sort of feel it. You feel it at home that you're like, man, just anything happens, and you're ultra sensitive to it. And I was talking to my brother one day, and I'm like, man, I'm watching TV, and I can't watch the news. I can't watch bad things happening to good people. And I'm like, is something wrong with me? And he tells me, no, nothing's wrong with you. I'm saying, like, am I going through like PTSD? And he's like, no, you're going through post-traumatic growth. And I think that's something that we have to understand, that Brian and Steve and the entire community is going through post-traumatic growth, is that we're growing from this incident. We're not watching the news with the same complacency that we watched it before. We have an urgency to us, and everything has a mission and a purpose to it. So I think that's a beautiful thing.
Well, guys, I mean it sincerely when I say thank you for taking the time to talk with us. You're three very impressive individuals.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Not only are they impressive individuals, but you can be too. You can continue the discussion. MPTV has been very proud to be a part of this initiative, and we hope that the discussion continues, as does the healing.